Hey everyone. This is a long video, but it's not one of my lectures. What gives? It's an interview. I don't do those too often on the channel, do I? No, this came about because I did that video, I don't know how many weeks ago it was now, where I just had a little fun talking about elevator voices. In fact, I even uploaded a second video that week with the collected series of files that I've gathered over the years from downloading stuff. Yeah, like the Otis Elevator vocabulary. ShmooCon's coming up. I don't know how many of you enjoy going there in DC at the Washington Hinckley Hilton, but my friend Lauren talks about the elevator lady voice, and I'll be out there. I've never missed a ShmooCon. I got my speaking career started at ShmooCon 1. Do you know that? That was my first time ever speaking at a HackerCon. And I get to conclude the ShmooCon with also speaking. So I'll be speaking at the final ShmooCon. Kind of fun. But that's not what this is about. This is about elevators, the nice lady voice in the elevator specifically. So I had talked about some elevator voice announcements. I played them for you all. And in the comments, people were asking, like, man, I wonder who that person actually was. I wonder if we could ever figure that out. And I was like, I'm a person who can figure stuff out. And I'm willing to bet that Otis, when they first, kind of got this idea, oh, let's put a voice in the, I was like, there's got to be some small town paper somewhere who did like a human interest story on who this person was. Certainly is. Found a few articles. And they mention her by name. Her name is Linda DeMartino, someone who was working at Otis at the time. But I was like, well, I'm not just going to be content knowing who this voice was. I wonder if I can find them. And again, I'm a person of some means. So I did a few searches in some databases, and I found a Linda DeMartino from Indiana who had moved to Connecticut, moved back to Indiana. I was like, ooh, there's a good chance this is the person. Called her up. Just out of the blue. And yeah, it was delightful. She is wonderful. We spoke for a little bit that day, that very same day I got seized by this idea. I told her, I was like, I don't feel entitled to your day here. I just called you out of the blue. But if you would be amenable, I talk a lot about elevators. I have this dumb little YouTube channel. Would you have any free time? And she was a treat. She said, yeah, call me, like next week. We'll set up a time. I'll happily tell you anything you want to know. So that's what you're going to hear. This is my story of meeting and getting to know the voice of Otis Elevators. I don't know that anything like this might exist elsewhere on the web. Don't know that it'll exist on this channel ever again too, because she is a unique person. I'm very pleased that I had the chance. Here you go. Linda DeMartino, the voice of Otis.
Hello,
Hello, I was trying to reach Linda DeMartino.
it's she.
Linda, I don't know if I've reached the right person or if you ever get calls like this. I work in and speak publicly a lot about the elevator industry, and you strike me as you might be the voice for Otis. Have I reached the correct
Yes,
Linda?
yes, that's me.
That is so delightful. I don't want to take up much of your time, especially unprompted. But if you were ever willing to actually set aside a little time, I would love to just speak to you further. I publish various articles and videos about elevators. I don't want to come at you unprompted and expect any of your day right now, but it is a treat to reach out. And I would love to speak to you further at some point about your work with Otis, if that's something you ever entertain doing.
Okay, it's been a long time since I've done any of the work for them. They started switching over once the technology improved, and they were doing recordings over the phone and over the internet and one thing and the other. But I did do all the original work, and of course, I used to work for Otis. I worked in the research center, and there was a gentleman that came in that wanted to talk to them about the voice of the elevator. You may not want to, maybe this is something you want to talk about later. I don't know.
I'd be happy to talk whenever you would want to talk. This is fascinating to me. I just didn't want to unpromptedly presume that I could have any of your day without warning like anything.
Well, truthfully, I just got home from playing bridge.
Mm-hmm.
I am putting together some birthday gifts for my granddaughter,
Mm-hmm.
and I am going to get up very early tomorrow morning and go to my daughter's house, and my granddaughter is coming over there with her not quite 2-year-old toddler, my little great-grandson. And so I am a little busy at the
Mm-hmm.
moment, and if we start talking, we could talk for quite a long time.
I imagine
So
we could.
there was an article in the newspaper years ago when I first did the work,
Mm-hmm.
and I was living in Connecticut at the time, and my best friend lived here in Indianapolis. Where
Mm-hmm.
are you from?
I'm from Philadelphia. I live in the Seattle area now, but I've lived many places.
Oh my word! I would love to talk to you. Let's maybe set up a little time. Um, are you are you in an office? Are you home, or where? What's your
I
situation?
set my own hours. I own a couple of companies. I work in the security and building safety and everything from fire suppression and egress rules. But I do a lot of elevator inspection work, and I know a lot of people in the elevator trade.
Very interesting. Very interesting. It really is. See, we're going to get to talking, and I'll talk forever. Uh, let's see. Would a weekend be better? Would we like a
Weekends
Saturday?
will work, certainly. This the Sunday the 10th, I have some time open. I have Monday beyond that. Yeah, I can make a lot work.
Sunday
Mondays
the
are
10th would be fine, just not too early.
Of course. And if you're in Indianapolis, I'm out west, so that's no problem. Maybe noon my time roughly is 2 your time. Does that sound possible?
That would be great. Okay. Well, I will plan on talking to you then on the 10th.
That sounds wonderful. I will ping you then.
This would be a very interesting conversation.
Thank you so very much, and I wish you the best day and all the best to your family.
Very welcome. I'm just going to get some rest so I can stay puckered up all day.
Okay, well, you do that, and I'll talk to you on Sunday.
All right. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Hello?
Hello, this is Dave. Is this Linda?
Yes, it is. Hello there.
Hello there. It's good to speak to you again.
Okay. I was just curious. I had pulled out a few things. I didn't know what questions you might be asking or what you're going to do with the information.
Well, that's one of the first questions I wanted to ask. I do publish articles and videos and other things online. Most of my career is teaching in the professional space, in the engineering space, teaching about buildings and building hardware. But I do have some multimedia content that I've thrown online, like lectures and such. So if it's all right, and you can always review and think, you can change your mind later, but I would love to be able to share, to document and share this conversation that we're having, or at least share selections from it when we're done, if that's okay with you.
Okay, I'll say one thing. When I was when I had done all the work for Otis, and they had a gal come in, Denise Lavoy, I think was her name. She was with the Associated Press, and she did an interview with me and took pictures, and it hit the newspapers all over the country. And my girlfriend called me. I was living in Connecticut at that time, and her son, who lived in Seattle, called her and said, "Have you seen the paper? Linda's in the paper." And so she called me and she said, I've got a copy of the article for you." I said, "Good grief, I didn't realize it was going to be all over the place."
Yes.
So that was an interesting thing. But at that point in time, I think they had advised me at Otis that there may have been a few people calling. Good grief, I ended up going to New York for an interview, and I had people calling me and wanting me to discuss this and one thing and the other, and I never got paid for any of it, which didn't seem quite right.
Yeah, that's one of the questions I had, because go ahead.
I had gotten a message from one of the engineers and said, "Thanks very much for your help regarding these media interviews. You should charge and receive appearance fees." And I thought, well, I was not in the union. How could I charge anything?
Yeah. And would that have been, I think I had seen some local articles, and even the AP Wire picked it up That was maybe in the very early to mid 90s, maybe when it started catching the news. I had read,
95.
what was
It was
that?
June 95.
Yeah.
June of 95, I did the interview with Denise Lavoie.
Yeah.
And she did a very good interview, and it wrote everything up, and it was in the papers and all over the place. Yeah. It was in the Otis Monthly that they put out, and then it also hit the Elevator World. It was in Elevator World, the magazine. You familiar with that one?
I'm
To
not
put that
familiar.
out?
I've seen the trade publication. I don't have a subscription, although one of my colleagues, Howard, I'm certain does. He's responsible for most of my elevator education over the years, and he's worked with me on a lot of building security consulting. But yeah, now did I read that that would have been almost a decade in from when you first were given the opportunity for the voice work? Is that correct? It started in the mid 80s?
It hit in 1984.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the May of 94. I got copies of all of this stuff. But they had some pictures in there about when we were doing the recordings and where we did the recordings.
Mm-hmm.
I was working I was a secretary to the head of the research center of Otis. There was a gentleman that came in to talk to my boss about the fact that they had found a way to digitally get a voice on the microchip that they were putting in the elevators. So it was going to be a human voice, not a
synthesized
digital
voice. Yeah.
And they wanted to get a female voice. So I said, really? I said I could do that because I used to do commercials in Fort Wayne and on-air things.
That's cool.
And he said, really? I said, yeah, really. So he said, well, let me talk to the product committee people and we'll see. And so he said, yeah. They said, well, we can set that up so you can give us a practice run on that just to see how it sounded, test the equipment. So I did. And they said, well, we like her voice. My voice is not what it used to be because I used to sing and do all kinds of things.
As did I. I still only sing on the right evenings in a bar, perhaps. But yeah, I was in choir much of my life.
I wish I could still sing because it was just a marvelous thing to do. Did you sing in church, or did you sing in school, or where did you do your singing?
I was in my school's choirs. There was the main concert choir, and then there was like the special choir that you could try out for that met after school. That was the madrigal choir. And
I was in both.
Yeah.
I was in both the specialty choir and the madrigal group. Absolutely.
That's so cool. Did your groups ever tour around outside of your home area? We got to travel on one trip a year.
Yes, we went to different places. We went to schools and nursing homes and other little concert things for during the holidays, and we participated in some. I think they had some contests also for various choirs throughout the city.
Now, what voice part did you sing? What was your range?
Soprano.
Soprano 1 or 2?
I was first soprano. I could do both.
Yeah.
But we had 16 in our madrigal group. And it was really quite an honor to be chosen for that. And then the bigger group was called Golden Singers. And we had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful director.
And when did you have to stop singing? Would it just end with your sort of school when you graduated?
Well, I'll tell you, I married young because I had a boyfriend through high school, and he had trouble with he had asthma and had trouble with his asthma, and had been stopped school or quit school and gone out to Arizona and went to school out there because of being able to breathe. And then he came back and he was in my class, and we met, and we kind of teenagers, So anyway, we were married when I was 18 and he was 20. And he needed to get back out to Arizona, so we were going to get married and go back to Arizona. Well, we were going to go in the springtime, but his asthma was so badly, he said, can we get married this Christmas and we can go ahead and go out there? Well, we did. But in the meantime, I had tried out for some musicals, footlight musicals here in Indianapolis. I had gone in and done an audition. And so we got married and we got out to Arizona, and 2 months later, I got a notice that I was accepted.
Oh my goodness.
And of course, here I am in Arizona, and I couldn't I couldn't go back at that point, and
Yeah.
I've always regretted that because I think it would have led to different things. My whole life could have been different. But in any case, there was a music teacher that ran an article in the Tucson paper that she was having auditions. You know, you could win first or second place and win some free voice lessons. So I tried out, and I got accepted, and so I was taking voice lessons from her, and she was giving a recital after several months. And so I participated in the recital. I'm 7 months pregnant, and I'm singing "You Never Walk Alone."
Oh, wow. And that was, from what I had looked up when I was trying to find and contact you, would that have been John, who you had married?
John.
Fantastic. And I had read in one of the pieces that was put out at the time, popularizing your story, there was a small, it's not smallish, but there was something of a competition. There were a few other contenders who are also, they sampled their voices as well, but it was ultimately you who was selected in the Otis situation.
Because they were looking for a female voice, I thought, oh, well, I've got plenty of experience with that. I can do the test taping for you to see if you like the voice or whatever. And that was what happened. They did like the voice. Well, at the time, George David was the president. I was also working as a secretary for my boss there. He was head of the research center. And apparently there was a conflict of interest. They couldn't use me if I was still an employee there because I would be an outside vendor. And he wasn't that crazy about my voice, but the product committee loved it. So they went out, and I ended up having to leave my job there in order to do the work. And I thought, well, shoot, I'll just do that. So I gave a resignation to my secretary and did all the voice work for the elevators.
Now, are you at liberty to say, was that a more lucrative opportunity for you to do the voice work?
They paid me a flat amount to do the whole vocabulary. And then, because it was versatile, this chip that they had could have things added. So if it was put into a building and they needed to add a specific thing, to the name of a company and what floor it was on, I would go in and do a recording for just that. And it would be added to the chip. And so I would be paid for that. So I was paid to go in every time. Problem there, they would put me in a room and there would be too much humming. And I said, you cannot do this just, in an empty room. You need to be someplace where you're not, in a recording studio where it's silent. And I seem to have to give them an awful lot of advice about things they didn't know. So
it sounds like the Otis company themselves was trying to do the recordings on premises. It wasn't like you were going to a music recording specific studio somewhere at first.
Exactly. And we did the generic when we finally got into a very quiet place. But then I ended up moving back to Indianapolis. And they still needed to do these voice auditions. And there happened to be an Otis Elevator office in Bloomington, Indiana.
Oh, wow.
So I would drive down there, and they had, again, we had to find a very quiet place because it was not a studio content. But we found a very quiet room in which to do it. And there were some times when I did go into a studio, to get the right sound.
Yes, you mentioned certain venue-specific. I imagine if, a posh hotel says, can we get something that says, Senator's Ballroom or Old Faithful Mezzanine, something specific to a venue.
Absolutely. It could just be one thing. And if it was a kind of a flat rate for me to go in to make anything. I could be saying just one phrase or I could be saying 10 phrases, but it was a flat rate.
Do any specific industries or announcements that the general public wouldn't normally hear come to mind? You have reached the runway level. Please stand clear of passing aircraft, or anything that really jumped out at you as arresting or unique?
I am trying to think. Not particularly. Not particularly. it was put in. It's in elevators in Kuala Lumpur. I mean, it's all over the world.
Yeah.
Wherever they have elevators, it's all over the world.
Were you ever asked to? I can't imagine they would have tried to press you for like a regional accent. I mean, I've been in the UK. There are, and Otis is no longer the only brand doing announces with voices now. But you hear almost a London, gang down, gang up, things.
No, they never did, and maybe because I wasn't under contract or anything like that,
Mhm.
maybe they did that once they were able to get that done in different countries with different accents. I don't know.
How about
with that.
anything ever not in English? I've been in Canadian elevators that are in French and English.
No.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. They may have hired somebody to do that in French, and eventually it got to a point where they no longer needed me. All the technology changed, and they were able to do things over the computers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that I wasn't familiar with. I was living in an apartment. I didn't have quietness that would be needed to do some of this stuff. So they ended up finding other people, other gals with a similar sound to finish doing some of the things that needed to be done. So that was the end of me.
Oh, it's silly to me, I guess, to ask a very basic superlative quote. It's the greatest, the biggest, but something that did spring to mind. And I suppose they can concatenate various words together, but the highest digit or the highest floor number you happen to ever recall recording. I mean, the tallest elevator I've been in is the Burj Khalifa in the UAE in Dubai, which has 123. Well, you can get to the 123rd floor, but and that is an Otis, by the way. There's only two buttons. There's the concourse level and the 123rd floor. That's the only buttons in that elevator.
Wow, no, I don't remember. Some of the words were difficult. The word mall, M-A-L-L, is a very difficult word to say and make it sound like it just sounds mall. It's kind of a difficult word.
Flat, yeah. Was your work in this voice sort of recording work, was it exclusive to Otis? Or did you work with any other systems or even in the broader recording industry? Somebody has told me your voice reminds them of sort of the announcement voices in some video games. There's a video game called Half-Life where there's an announcer voice on the tram.
Before exiting the train, be sure to check your area for personal belongings.
No, I was never able to do that because I did get in touch with a gentleman who runs what they call World Voices. I was also in my apartment at the time, and we would have had to go into a recording studio because I did not have the capabilities on the computer, and that's what they were working with. So I wasn't able to do that. But a lot of my things that I did was before I ever went to Connecticut. I did television commercials in Fort Wayne, Indiana, when I lived there for a regional grocery store, and I was taping 2 television commercials every week.
Oh wow, that is quite a bit
for a regional grocery store, and I did that for about 2 or 3 years. So it was kind of an interesting experience because Fort Wayne is not a huge town. I mean, it was like 180,000 or something, but I could hardly go anywhere without being recognized.
Were you visually appearing in the commercials as well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I was, how old was I there? I was in my late 30s. And I not to sound conceited, but I was really very beautiful. I was very beautiful in my 30s.
I'm certain you still are now.
Well, I'm 83 now. Beauty fades, but memories do not. In any case, I had to be careful where I went, and I lived. This is a cute story because we were living across the highway from a grocery store. And it was not the grocery store that I did commercials for.
Yeah.
And it's Thanksgiving time. We've had terrible snowstorms. Things are down. I I love to cook, and I had a full Thanksgiving dinner because I had things in the freezer. But I needed food coloring, and I thought I can't get out here to get food coloring, but I could walk across the street.
Yeah, yeah.
So I put a scarf around my head. I put on a pair of sunglasses, and I walked across the street, and I went into this other grocery store. Found what I was after, and was in the checkout lane.
Mm-hmm.
And the store manager comes up to me and pokes me on the shoulder. He says, "What are you doing, slumming?"
So they say, "Why are you here at the Safeway when you could be at the Acme?" Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was comical. It was funny.
Remarkable. Now, you mentioned being recognized. How many people sort of in your day-to-day life know of your work in the Otis Elevator industry? I mean, do people ever recognize your voice? Does your family and, you mentioned your grandkids, do they know that that's your voice that they might sometimes hear in buildings?
I don't know that they know that. My daughters, of course, know that, and my youngest daughter said that this was before I even came back to Indianapolis. She says, "Mom," she says, "I was downtown and I was in the such and such building," and she says, "I'm in the elevator because I had to go up because of my job."
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "I got in the elevator," and she said there were other people in there, and then she says, "There came your voice on the elevator," and I said, "That's my mom."
That's adorable.
It was really cute.
That's really
But I
wonderful.
really don't know. I don't know now if they still even have the voice in the elevators.
They certainly do. They certainly do. All of this, me reaching out, it was inspired by, there's a technology conference every year in Washington, D.C. It's been at the Washington Hilton for I guess, gosh, at least 10 years now. It's about 20 years old, this conference. And the elevators there are Otis elevators. They are voice announce. And without fail, many people, especially my friend Lauren and some others, they remark upon how pleasant it is to hear the voice announcements every time. Certain floors, they say, "Oh, okay, so lobby." Is there just a slight lilt, a slight soft welcomingness to the way you pronounce it? It just puts a smile on so many people's faces.
I have got a copy of it's called "It's a Woman's World in Talking Elevators," but most still prefer the silent type.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a copy of the interview by Denise Lavoie, and it's what went into all the papers.
Let's see.
Do you have a copy of it?
I do see more and more talking. Yes, Denise Lavoie from the AP, June of '95.
It's like a 3-page thing.
Yeah, and of course that article even mentions some of the more technical messages that most people don't regularly hear about temporary power interruptions. We are experiencing technical difficulties.
Exactly right. Yeah, please do not be alarmed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Experiencing technical difficulties.
Now, I've worked in certain hospitals and other environments where staff members can prioritize elevators for special purposes. And I recall there's at least one voice announcement to the effect of, "This elevator is needed for another purpose. Please exit at the next landing." Is that one that you recall, something to that effect that you recorded?
It might have been. Yeah, it's hard to remember all the things that I did.
Mm-hmm. I think you said it's not like you have a special contract where you're getting royalties year after year. These were all one-off.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, no.
Well,
no, absolutely not. They didn't even offer that. And I don't know if that was I don't know what would have happened had they chosen what they called a professional. They didn't consider me a professional.
Well, royalties aside, it's so neat that you have entered this cultural milieu. And I meant, other names that I think of, and I've been talking with people, she's no longer with us, but Jane Barbie was the voice in most telecommunication systems, the automated voice in, Bell Telephone, all of those announcements. That was all one woman named Jane.
If you'd like to make a call, please hang up and try it again. If you need help, hang up and then dial the operator. This is a recording.
A number of my friends in the service who fly aircraft, Leslie Shook, her voice is the announcements in the pilot's ears.
Altitude.
Pull up.
And yeah, there are a number of other brands I'm aware that have tried voices in their elevators later. Kone elevators, I've heard, with a very different voice. There's some Dovers, but to be the first. I think you would have been the first one. I really hope that it's been satisfying, and just you get to live on like this through all of our lives. You put a smile on so many faces with the way you
It's a
sound.
lot of fun. I was treated very well. The engineers I worked with, well, they were all my friends in Otis in the research center, because I had worked there just as a secretary, so I knew them, and I knew a lot of them.
Yeah.
And then I was working with Doug Saunders, was one of the young engineers that was working with me with the voice, and they were all quite delighted. And then when I moved back to Indiana, because I found out my daughter was expecting my first grandchild,
Mm-hmm.
and I packed up and moved home. I signed up with a talent agency here,
Mm-hmm.
and I did commercials. I did print. I did print things, where they just did pictures and put it in the paper. I did some print things. I did some voice things. I did some on-air television things here with that group. Now that didn't pay a lot because it wasn't regional. It was kind of local, maybe a few regional things, but it was kind of fun to get out and do those.
That's lovely. I think that is terrific, and I can't think of it. I had no other notes here, but it's such a pleasure to meet the person briefly behind something that's just a part of our world.
Yeah, exactly. And I wish I had been able. I don't know. I think I have many different talents and never had a chance to really make any of them a kind of a permanent thing.
Mm-hmm.
I did it here, I did it there, a little here, little there, little there, little there. And so I'm not doing anything right now except kissing my little great-grandsons.
That sounds like a good thing to be doing. It sounds like
I'm
you've
a
got
very
a
happy
great life
great-grandmother right now. Yes, I am.
Mm-hmm. Right
but
on.
that's the story. I've got a very nice picture of me standing at a music stand with headphones on and just getting ready to do a recording. I can have copies of these made and mail them to you.
Okay.
Don't have printers figured out with all this. I'm not good with my cell phones and all of that kind of stuff. There's too much. Life used to be so simple for us, and then all of a sudden, all of this stuff starts coming along. How old are you, by the way?
I am 46.
Do you don't have a copy of the Elevator magazine going all the way
I don't
back, do you?
personally no.
Because I know the pictures were in there. But these are Polaroids, but they're really nice pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Doug Sanders is there. I don't have a lot of them, but I've got a couple. I can send those to you.
That would be that would be a treat.
And I will. Do you have a copy of what was in the newspaper?
I do have from the internet. I found the articles from the internet of the time, the 1995 articles. I plan to, edit this all up, package it up in a way that I could share it. So having the visuals would be perfect.
Okay, that would be nice. That would be nice.
Splendid.
At least I was one of the first.
I think you were.
I was the first, and it was so much fun, and I had made so many friends in Otis because of even working there. So it was quite a surprise when we found out I was going to be doing all that work. And I had to leave, of course, and I'll tell you, they were just getting into computers. They had just put computers in.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I left, and so I was no longer exposed to this new computer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where I missed out over the years, because it takes a while to get all caught up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I worked with what they called mag cards. I worked in a law firm for a while too, and they had something they called mag cards, which you would type things onto these magnetic discs, and then you could save them. Very interesting. But it kind of got away from all of that. Things have gotten very complicated. I don't know how you keep up with everything, but I'm not up with it at all.
Well,
it's been very interesting talking to you, and if I can find the date for the last time we did anything, I'll let you know that too.
Wonderful. Well, I am thrilled that you had the time today, and I just appreciate you so much, and you bring so much joy to all of us out there as we ride up and down.
You just never know who you're going to be listening to.
Absolutely.
I'll get some photos and things for you as soon as I can.
Thank you so much, and all the best to you
Thank
and yours.
you so much. Okay, you have a good day.
You too. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
That was a treat, huh? A thing like that. Over the years, I've done a lot of interesting work, some of it very technical, building and designing new tools, breaking into secure facilities, neutralizing safes and containers. But it's this sort of stuff that I get to do just for the fun of it, just for you all, where I get seized by a whim and I say, hey, I wonder if I could. Sure enough, I can. There you go. Today wasn't a day of designing big tools, although I have some recordings that I have to make actually showing you some new equipment that I've got coming out on the website I don't mention. And I just wanted to do this for fun. Yeah. Thank you for always sharing fun with me on this channel. I get asked many times, oh, you're going to monetize your channel? Do you have a Patreon? I've got some thoughts about that, but no, not for me. I don't want to make, this isn't my career. This is just me having fun and sharing delightful things with you all. And I hope you were as delighted by this today as I was, because she's great, right? We can all agree. I look forward to hearing her voice at future times at ShmooCon and other elevator systems that I ride different places in different hotels and different big buildings. If you're out there and you're in the position to record other elevator voices, please let me know. Shoot me videos or whatever on social media or something, because she's not the only one in the cabs now. There are other voices. And of course, there are synthesized voices. At least one colleague of mine, Ben, has taken all the Otis voice announcements that we have so far and has run them through an algorithm and can generate some of his own announcements, kind of like these.
No one is available to greet you on the floor you have selected. Please select a different floor or leave a message at the following tone.
Not going to hear that one in the official cabs, are you? All right. Look for me online or look for me at cons or just, look for me out and about. I know a lot of you have all kind of different feels about where the world is today. And yeah, if you see me, you can always come up, say hi. You can always come up, get a hug. You'll be all right out there. And I hope I will be too, one way or another. But in the meantime, enjoy yourselves. Be good to one another. Stay safe out there.